Presence of the Master is an enchantment from Legends that costs 3 and a white mana. While Presence of the Master is in play, anytime a player would cast an enchantment spell, it is countered. That's kind of a neat effect in its own right, but I think the more obvious thing to mention in this card's case is its art. That's Albert Einstein, depicted on a magic card. That's kinda weird, right? This isn't something that they do often, and it always kinda blows me away when I see this card. It's strange. But we'll get back to the art after we talk about this card's effect. So this counters all enchantments, which is pretty good if your opponent is playing enchantments, but it doesn't do anything if they aren't playing enchantments. That's probably obvious, but my point here is that this card is not very good. It is kind of funny in Commander, I suppose, and other weird variants where you're a little bit more likely to see some enchantments, but in 60 card 1 versus 1, it's pretty hard to guarantee that your opponent is even running enchantments. To be fair, even when this was printed, there were some pretty strong enchantments, but it still really sucks if your opponent isn't playing any of them. Obviously, the natural solution to this problem is just to sideboard the card. And that sort of works, assuming your meta has enough enchantment-based decks to get shut down by this. Still, it is hard to fit effects like this into your sideboard because it is very narrow and you only have 15 slots. Cards like this have always interested me because they read very powerful but tend to not really do much most of the time. I also have mixed feelings on designs like these because they either work or they don't, and it's kind of a bad play experience if they work, and it's kind of a pretty expensive use of resources when these kind of effects don't work. I'm not really sure what the right answer is on stuff like this. Maybe you could argue that an effect like this on a slightly overcosted creature is probably a good way to prevent this kind of thing from being a dead card, but I also kind of think that effects like this shouldn't really exist in the game, maybe. I don't really have any strong feelings on this card, but I do find it to be a curiosity. And as always, I'd love to hear what you guys have to say about, well, in this case, it's Presence of the Master. That's what we're talking about. I should also point out that I have very little personal experience with this card. A lot of these cards I talk about, I play pretty regularly, but this isn't a card that slides across my table very often, so maybe I'm completely wrong about it. Maybe it was super good back in the day. I guess I don't really know. I don't think it was, but I've been wrong before. Still, the reason I talked about this card at all has a lot more to do with the art than its effect. So let's talk about the art for this card. Presence of the Master was originally illustrated by Foglio in Legends, and I love this art. I'm a huge Foglio fan, and I appreciate this piece because it showcases his more serious side. That maybe sounds funny when I'm talking about Einstein on a magic card, but Phil has a very cartoonish and carefree style that isn't expressed as much in this piece than most of his work. I just think it's kinda neat how he approaches this piece. I also have no idea who decided Albert Einstein would appear on this card, but based on what I know of the art direction at the time, there really wasn't much, so Phil probably made this call, which I think is really funny. The art itself is well done, excellent line work, and the contrast of the color choices really ties the piece together, in my opinion. I really appreciate the background on this piece as well. It's fun to imagine Einstein as a wizard. He probably would have been really good at it. It's a really fun art, but it isn't the only art for Presence of the Master, because they reprinted this card in Urza's Saga, of all places. Cerullo illustrated this version of Presence of the Master, and it's well executed and significantly less funny or strange than Phil's work. But that's not a bad thing. I personally prefer Phil's version, but this is definitely an awesome alternative for someone who wants this effect, but doesn't want to have a goofball card in their deck. This piece is nice. I really appreciate the white and cream tones used in this piece. It forms a nice continuation with the frame that I personally find very satisfying. This art is very interesting, and it's so wildly different than the original, and I think I appreciate that most about this version. It's very cool. Still, there isn't too much to say about this card. I just thought it was pretty neat and wanted to showcase it. Like I said, I'm not actually very experienced with this card, so if you have any experience with this card, let us all know in the comments. Please. But that's all I have for you today. You can like the video if you liked it. You can subscribe if you give a shit. But either way, I hope you have a magical day. Thanks for watching.